Now welcome to another lightning response video, where this time I'm going to get to one question, and then tomorrow I will finally be doing that longer answer a bunch of questions video. I was originally going to have this video up yesterday and then that one out today, like I said I would, but that obviously did not happen. I'll also be putting out, I think, a non-spoiler kind of reaction video to the first two episodes of The Acolyte tomorrow night, followed up by a deeper dive spoiler video for it on Wednesday. But for now, let's get to this question from Severitus, who asked, I'll go ahead and re-ask a question I have asked before. Why is the dark side characterized as the quick and easy path, and its adherents lacking self-control, when the entire plot of the prequels refutes this idea through Palpatine's rise to power, as well as the success of the Bane lineage hiding in the shadows for 1,000 years almost completely unnoticed? Palpatine demonstrated a level of patience and self-discipline that he convinced everyone that he was either a patriotic, self-sacrificing grandfather figure, or just another politician despite being deep down the most black-hearted Sith in millennia. He sat in front of Yoda and Mace for years without either noticing. Part of this is the use of a specific kind of force power that disguises alignment, but he had to use that power nearly all the time for decades, and he only reveals his bloodlust at the time of his choosing, despite his enemy being right in front of him as a constant temptation. He only started to be carefree and stopped micromanaging when the Empire was fully entrenched and he was sure that he had won. It seems that yes, you can get a short-term boost from switching to the dark side, but the light and dark are otherwise not so different when it comes to years of training and discipline, making the most of both. Alright, so the idea of the dark side being the quicker and easier path, of course, comes from what Yoda said about it in The Empire Strikes Back, what he tells Luke during his training. And he doesn't just sort of blurt it out with no context. It's actually part of a longer sort of training montage, a series of things he's telling Luke and questions from Luke. And I think that's a pretty important context to take a look at. And so how I kind of want to start here is by looking at that piece by piece, sort of breaking it down, that conversation between Luke and Yoda. Because I do agree with you that it sort of gets implied that the Sith overall, or on the whole, that they have this much easier path to, let's call it, endgame power. And I don't think that is exactly true. But anyway, let's get to that scene and discuss.
Yes, Jedi's strength flows from the Force. But beware of the dark side. Anger, fear, aggression. The dark side of the Force are they. Easily they flow, quick to join you in a fight.
Okay, so Yoda basically starts by telling Luke that the dark side is kind of easy to tap into in a confrontation of some kind, or that it's easy to get angry and aggressive and to handle your problems that way, and that the dark side is rather eager to help you, and it kind of becomes this temptation then to use it, that it's right there, I can just use it, solve my problems, and if you are a Force user and you use it against others as a weapon, essentially, it's very likely you're going to get the results you wanted, or that you're winning the fight or solving the problem in a way that is most beneficial to you. Whatever it might be, you're getting the result you desire.
If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will, as it did Obi-Wan's apprentice.
Alright, so here I don't think Yoda is being literal, though many seem to take it that way, and even I must admit, I have sort of presented it that way, that it should be taken literally instead of getting into the nuance here, because basically he's not saying the first time you use the dark side that you're screwed forever and there is never any way to come back from that. Rather, he's saying once you do it that way, the first time you get angry and solve a problem with the strength that the dark side offers you, which again, it is eager to do so, and you get the exact results you wanted or what you thought was best for the situation, it's going to be very, very tempting to do that again. Do it that way again and again and again, to always solve your problems the easy way, essentially. The way where you just get angry and lash out and nobody can stop you because you're a powerful Force user, or maybe not powerful, but powerful enough that you're going to overpower someone who can't use the Force, right? You're going to do it that way. Again, you're going to do it the easy way, the dark side way, rather than the more gentler approach to your problems, let's say, which is the light side way. And I mean, why would you ever go back to or start using the light side way, staying calm and rational in a confrontation, hearing the other person out perhaps, maybe even compromising and not getting absolutely everything you want? Why go through that long and arduous process and maybe not have it entirely your way in the end, When, again, you can just get angry and have everything you wanted rather quickly if you just start swinging a lightsaber around and taking out anyone who says no to you, or threatening them, or again, using the Force in some other way. And so that is what Yoda means when he says dominating your destiny. He's not saying you couldn't ever come back from the dark side under any circumstance. He's saying it's going to become your default reaction whenever something goes wrong or when you want something, because it's so damn easy to get it that way. You're just going to take it or react a certain way because that way always works, and because, yes, the dark side is an actual thing in Star Wars, a tangible thing. Evil does literally exist in Star Wars, and once it takes hold of you, it is very hard to break free.
Vader, is the dark side stronger?
No. Quicker, easier, more seductive.
But how am I to know the good side from the bad?
You will know when you are calm, at peace, passive.
And here Yoda's really just sort of reiterating what he said before, and in response to Luke asking and needing clarification, basically. Luke's like, so doing it that way, just getting angry and using the dark side is more powerful. And Yoda's like, no, it's just quicker and more seductive and easier. It's easier to get mad and get everything you want in the short term. It's easier to do that than to stay calm and peaceful and search for the best solution for everyone. And I really don't think Yoda is exactly talking about, again, what you might call endgame power here. I don't think he's necessarily saying that it doesn't take a considerable length of time for a Sith to become as powerful as, say, Palpatine ultimately did. Now, I don't think it probably takes as long as it does for a Jedi to reach, let's keep calling it that endgame power or potential, to become all they could be. But it still takes a while and plenty of years of training for a Sith to grow powerful, and to a degree, some patience to get there is going to be required if they want to become that powerful. And if you're not patient, if you don't bide your time a bit, if you're the apprentice Sith and you think you're ready to take down the master before you actually are, before you've learned enough, or before you've recruited your own apprentice to help you, you're going to lose and you're going to be killed. Though, of course, you also have to make your move before the master thinks you're becoming too powerful and tries to replace you with another apprentice. That's the fun little dance of the Sith, you could say, and is the exact opposite of how a Jedi hopes to one day see their apprentice or their Padawan surpass them and become better than them. The Sith never want to see that happen. But anyway, to stop myself from getting off topic, let's now go back to that initial question, armed with a bit more information or understanding of how the Sith work, perhaps. And so how did Palpatine manage to be so patient, and how were the Sith, on the whole, so patient that they waited 1,000 years to make their move? Or how did they remain hidden for that long? How did the Jedi not find them? How were they not careless at any point? Well, again, I think to get what they want, the Sith do need to learn a degree of patience. Quite a bit of patience when you really stop and think about it. Them just getting angry a couple times and trying to go take down the Jedi Order is going to result in the end of the Sith. And I think this also leads to another key component or aspect of the Sith, another thing that kind of defines them that has to be kept in mind and also helps explain their patience a bit, though I do think they also are rather intelligent. Palpatine is intelligent. He's not dumb enough to go just directly challenge the Jedi, no matter how angry he might get. But anyway, besides the fact that yes, they can be intelligent and not just completely hot-headed and stupid and act irrationally, but there is also fear. And I'm not just talking about the fear they can generate. I am talking about the fear they constantly endure as Sith, the fear they are ruled by, the fear of losing everything, all the stuff and or power they have amassed, and of dying and becoming nothing, of becoming obsolete. That is what they fear the most, oblivion. And before going on, I am mainly talking about the George Lucas view or version of the Sith here, which yes, is a bit different from what was established about them in the EU. He had a whole kind of different mindset when it came to them. And so honestly, George Lucas' version here, I think every Sith over the 1,000 years of hiding thought they were going to be the one that would someday somehow rise up and destroy the Jedi and conquer the galaxy. And they probably spent their life plotting and planning in the shadows on how they were going to pull that off. However, again, most of them probably being fairly intelligent, they knew they'd almost certainly lose if they just straight up challenged the Jedi without the perfect plan in place ahead of time. And so fear kept them in hiding and from ever going through with any plan they may have actually come up with or that would have taken shape or had a real chance of working. Or maybe their apprentice killed them before they got the chance because they thought they could be the one to carry out this plan. And perhaps in that respect, one Sith taking ideas from the previous one that they had killed Perhaps a plan did get formed over that 1,000 years, but it was more by default than one intentionally passing the plan down to the next Sith. Because honestly here, I really don't think they gave a damn about the next guy up, if you will, or the long-term goal. That honestly doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them. The epitome of selfishness, which is what the Sith are, wouldn't be happy or get any real satisfaction in knowing that they set up the next guy for victory, but it cost them their life. In fact, I could imagine being angry that the plan they came up with or that they were going to use got used by the next guy and it worked for them. That if they could somehow know it would have worked for the next guy or the next Sith up, they'd be far more upset than happy for them. And again, you have to keep in mind here that George Lucas has said the reason there can't ever be more than two Sith is because they just kill each other to be the most powerful one, or to take what the other has. They can't cooperate. That is the big problem with the Sith. That is why they ultimately lose. The Jedi are the symbiotic relationship that works together for the greater good. The Sith are the parasites that try to leech off everyone else for their own good. So again, this idea that they all work together over 1,000 years, that every one of them over that time went along with this long-term plan, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you consider the way Lucas has described them. Again, I would say it's more fear that kept them in the shadows than holding to some sort of long-term plan that they hoped would work 100 or 1,000 years down the road. Though, in an odd sort of way, the Sith staying hidden like they did, or the fear of failure, certainly may have contributed to the arrogance of the Jedi that was a big part of their eventual downfall in the prequels. They hadn't seen the Sith for so long, they hadn't seen a real threat, that they became complacent. And had every so often a Sith come out of the shadows with a plan, every couple decades or 100 years or whatever it might be, the Jedi may have been, or certainly would have been, I think, far more vigilant and ready for the next time they tried something. I think Palpatine's plan would have failed if, say, 100 years before it, the Sith had made an appearance, like seems to be the case in The Acolyte. As for the last part of the question about how did Palpatine in particular pull it off, how did he seem to be so patient and do so much without just perhaps getting frustrated at some point and making a mistake that revealed himself? And again, for one, I think he was a rather intelligent individual, right? I do think many of the Sith, as I was saying, are pretty intelligent. Look at Dooku. It could also be in part that he got a certain sense of enjoyment or satisfaction out of the manipulation of people. He liked doing it, especially liked manipulating the Jedi, perhaps. That seeing the Jedi fooled by him, to the point where they literally sat there and listened to him and kind of followed his orders or instructions, that he didn't have to fear them, you could even say, that may have been enough to help him, again, sort of keep the act up and ultimately get the win. In other words, he liked the game he played with them, and it was more than enough to hold him over until he won and came to rule the galaxy. Well, that's going to be all I got for you this time. Now it is your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think about any or all of this. How do you think the Sith were able to hide in the shadows for 1,000 years and eventually get the win? Or you can feel free to ask a question for a future lightning response video. All you got to do is start your comment off with "Hey Thor" and then ask away. But whatever you choose to do, leave a comment below. Let's talk some Star Wars, and until next time, thanks for watching.